opportunity this is for potentially Endpoint to really make good of a really bad situation from that first series. I'm sure they're going to be kicking themselves for what might have occurred there, and for Guild Esports, of course, they've had to wait this extra period of time just to get themselves on the turf, and hopefully all goes well for the both of them.
Well, hopefully so. Guild, who's been waiting patiently, saw what Endpoint puts on the table. They have to improve. Endpoint's fan, they're sitting there hoping there was maybe the sense, the belief of a comeback, of a reverse sweep. That wasn't likely here, but Guild, they're having a fine line here defensively already.
Yeah, and especially with those calculated plays, those solo play attempts out of defense, it's looking relatively comfortable early on for Guild as they try and make their press downfield. But Crispy has something to say about that, and just maybe keeping things firmly in their grasp is the name of the game for this Guild squad.
Well, that's a shot right on target. Devo's done well, and a pinch for the fellow too in the Endpoint blue here as Crispy up and around here. Big player that needs to step up in this sort of matchup here as Emery just takes it steps down. He had some special quality moments in the earlier Crispy shot, not going in. Devo fires it high above the line here, and Gom just launches that one down clear, not giving time, of course, for a response to send it back as quick.
But there is some time afforded now, maybe for a link-up between this Guild squad as they go lurking forwards for demos, just like Bacon mentioned on the desk. But nonetheless, this looks wide open actually towards Crispy, and I was wondering where that third player for Guild Esports might be sat, but it's a complete irrelevancy, and Crispy's tucked away the first.
Endpoint on the boards, fans relieved. Well, Seiko, Guild, if they didn't think they were going to have a match based on the Quadrants' performance, they are highly mistaken here as Emery already up defensively blocked, and Gom just having a quick 1-2, and maybe the third touch can be excellent, but blocked away by Endpoint.
A vicious counter-attack maybe. Crispy over towards the corner of the field, and Devo in support to try and weave this ball central, but the support is going to be few and far between. No one willing to put in that risk after that early one-goal advantage, and now the ball well and truly in Endpoint's court, and you can see some of the confidence coming through right now.
Certainly so. It's good to see the confidence is there, especially with a loss. It could just erode it somewhat. Wealth of experience. We always look at that between the both of us here as Emery goes up and high. It's waiting for Devo. He's waiting to see what Guild wants to do with this, and it's forced into a block. Perfect position. No boost, and unfortunately for Crispy's sake, can't develop the play any further.
And a high ball in field. It's going to be Crispy first to it, and he's actually done well to beat one player there, but Gom all alone. That is the one player you want in those situations, and a brave counter-attack through from Guild Esports, and Endpoint CEX on the receiving end of being slept, or really just sleeping on their own backlines here.
Tycho, this might be one of those series where it's just going to be nip and tuck. One goal here, one mistake there, and suddenly you find yourself just slipping away here. Endpoint, mistakes of the past, they can't afford to allow it here in the deep line of Crispy. A back pass develops, and unfortunately for them, Guild's read it.
Yeah, it was easily readable, that play, but Lewis P is going to try and add a bit of volatility with that really, really early challenge, but it's not really sustained their offense very long, as both of his supporting players just had to sit back and wait for that charge back four from Endpoint, and now back into the corner is Devo with a nice demo there to clear a bit of open space.
See Crispy poised in the back lane, boost to learn the pickup, and unfortunately not able to get through the attacking onslaught. They're gone past one. Emery has to get up quick, he hasn't, and there's Devo weaving around here. That's left lurking, wondering, and Gom another attempt to go for it. Emery just boots it downfield, a proper hoof just to give a bit of space here for Endpoint's sake.
And Acro attempting to do the same thing, has just given away possession really loosely there, as a massive opportunity for a clearance was begging, and now full control towards Emre. Managed to get a demo there, surely a booming ball downfield. Lewis P quick up to this ball, gets a nice first touch and a solid second one to follow, as this ball still neutral in the midfield.
Drain's performance so far. Drain's in the fact here, both sides are being arguably respectful. They're still having a few goes here and there, but nothing in terms of really that full aggression and attacking we've seen over in the Rocket in recent games. Well, I think they know what's on the stake here, Psycho, and they might just have that heirloom of sort of safety, that caution sort of approach here as Emery there just waits patiently. We might be bold and going the OT here.
Yeah, maybe so, but it's not over just yet. So we have seen more unlikely things happen, but Emre has to make a real miracle happen here, and maybe now is given chance for Guild to come forth, but nonetheless, overtime in Game 1, Endpoint CEX, and their efforts to try and overcome some of those previous woes they had in that last series. Look to be maybe an all-time high, but is it enough in this first OT?
Well, Emery, slow dribble, moves it past blocks there. Just needs to get past the last defender of Guild. Guild have done well here, relying on that particular third man blocked in the mid lane. Our good friend up the Rocket and Endpoint caster Craftman be screaming, keep these or the mid lane well protected and developed, and that's the same. Just to keep Endpoint going from one line behind and a goal behind in the Series 2 downline ball. And just like that, minute played near enough.
And gone through the skies, almost connects with Lewis P there, but Devo afforded a big clearance as a result of that failed attack going forwards. And now, on the opposing end, that player again, a beautiful infield pass, but Lewis P diving across his own back lines there has made such a strong touch forwards. You can see just how volatile this game really is, as it's just completely end-to-end at the moment.
Emery, that's a touch here, a few shots there by Guild. That's on target. Devo pushes it away. Second touch is excellent. Allows Crispy to rotate in to get past Guild. And that there, maybe it'll be a swift counter-attack and breathing for Endpoint's advantage. Unfortunately, and this is the big unfortunate bit about it, they haven't put a shot on target from it.
Not just yet, and it's Guild Esports who are definitely succeeding in the shots department. They've got 8 to their name right now and seem to be a team that have just come shy. The narrowest of margins in this OT, but Emre over to the corner does manage to follow that through with a swift double touch, and also a loose ball for Devo to strike, maybe a second touch down, but Crispy has taken over the job, and Emre to fill in the loose gap and the missing piece that Endpoint CEX needed in the puzzle, and that is Game 1 their direction.
What was desperately needed by Endpoint, they need to get something on the board. So worrying sort of signs, Seiko, when you just let a series slip from and you just have that niggling thought at the back of your head, what shall we do different? How do you approach it? This is the perfect start that Endpoint needed just to settle what might have been lurking in the water.
Definitely so, and I think from both sides really, Danny, what we saw was a bit of a conservative approach, at least in the early stages of this first game. You could see just how quickly possession was just translating from one side of the field to the other in just a blink of an eye. Counter-attacks coming thick and fast, and I think both sides really just sort of giving away possession a bit loosely. Sometimes that can come with nerves, sometimes it can come with a bit of uncomfortability, but towards the end there, we saw some real punch from Endpoint, and well, it's very good for their supporters that they've managed to get themselves back in the running in many of the eyes of the viewers.
Well, certainly so, and I think Guild will at least take solace that it was a close series. We could sit here and maybe analyse too much here, but let's look at the positive by both sides. A few big blocks came out, dealt with it well here. It's just the accuracy that just needs that marginal improvement, say 5-10%, maybe on target, bit more in terms of the clinical where they place it. This game could be tighter than it already is here in Psycho. Game 2, not far away.
Not too far away at all. Now Guild Esports may be in a position where they think they could have done more, they could have done better in that Game 1. Like you discussed, Danny, just a matter of inches at times, as was that opening chance for Endpoint, but not quite converted that time around as the attack still flourishing, but nothing gives.
Not yet. That's a ball into the middle. Nice soft touch here. Unfortunately, Guild's rotations allowing Endpoint to breathe with that side of confidence here that Seka was looming to. That's a shot on target perhaps, but a whisker away, and Endpoint will breathe a sigh of relief.
Crispy with no options has chosen to do it all alone, and finally Emre through to make another shot on target, but blocked away very comfortably. Crispy shot again, blocked away by Lewis P, and now downfield the charge begins for this Guild Esports side. Another attempted solo play for Acro, but sadly no contact there.
It's Crispy, and that's weaving around there. There is options in the box here, but not able to find it. Guild's unwell to shut it down here. It was a decent attribute they've had in game one here. Double commit. Lewis P sent to his own backline post, and that's in it. Exposed temporarily. Endpoint was able to get the recruits back in the defensive line. All three of them too for the second phase of play.
Yeah, and all three Endpoint players just huddled at the back, turtled, shielding up for the attack to come from Guild Esports. You can see the respect is there even after that first win. Devo drops it down a little uncomfortably in front of his own net. It's just giving this Guild side the chance to craft some opportunities as Lewis P coming fourth only gets as far as the first man.
Nice off touch here, Devo. What's up? Champion that he is here, gets the block here, and Gom just circling around. It's a nice air dribble to set something up here. The problem is, where is the second man? Where's the follow through? Is it just going to be solo play after solo play? It has to change, and that's trying to go forced all the way through. Devo has made a mistake here at the back line.
And that is an interesting touch that's come through from the Guild side. Maybe not anticipated from their perspective, but they're going to use that as some fuel to push themselves forward here. Lewis P, one touch to the backboard. He's found a little gap on target for maybe Acro to follow on as another infield pass comes through. And Gom settles this ball down. He's done well to get past one, but demoed for his troubles. That one's going to hurt.
Hurts even more here. Spicy if a goal just slips on through for Endpoint's sake. They've held on. Guild has done that earlier in the first half of the second game as Crispy soft touch Devo just rotating away. Let Emery have a better angle if needs be, but Lewis P watching to see where Devo eventually drops this ball, and Crispy follows suit here. Two of Endpoint's players committed to the set of plays. Allows Emery here just to delay, and unfortunately that seems to be the story here, Seko. It's delay, delay, delay.
It seems to be working time and time again for Endpoint as they're doing well at absorbing this pressure, but are the worries going to begin to grow that they can't craft an attack the other way? As right now they are yet again huddled at the back. Emre has done well to get past one player. Devo to follow, no contacts made though, as he needs that imminent support from a teammate behind. And Guild Esports, maybe for the first time we've seen in a while, on the back foot, but just look at where they are now, completely the other direction.
And Emery, good save here, and that shot lurking at that blue net there. It was just saying to Endpoint, do you have a player? Can you save it? Guild asking the big questions here at the crunch time, a minute and under, as Emery, he has a turn here, taken out of the game as Lewis P. He has enough of Endpoint. Small shenanigans with the play. It will be at least Crispy to have it for now.
And an escape route towards Emre on the side of the field has given this Endpoint side a real opportunity to make this counter-attack happen. But Lewis P, no boost in the tank. That's all he needs. The pressure is there, and it's hounding against this blue wall at the back, and maybe a shot opportunity for Gom, but he just nips it to the side. A bit of a scuff, that touch.
The boost here in certain moments here as players with the ball here just running deeply down here. Recycling the play here might be the next step.
Oh!
Lewis P with the shot here to put Guild in the driving seat in the second tier, but unfortunately with 5 seconds left, Endpoint might not have the time to come back.
And if they do, that certainly would be a transformative goal for the series of Endpoint. There's one last opportunity, a bump opportunity for Crispy, but no contact found as Devo wraps around in the corner. Maybe an extra touch infield to a teammate, but the touch has gone too long, and Guild Esports, really, they just made something out of that game, which was almost unexpected for me, Danny. And they really did show themselves to be the strongest side. Just look at those statistics, especially in the shooting department. 13 shots towards Guild. Impressive stuff from them.
Certainly so, and it was a series here, let's be truthful with Guild's performance here. They deserved to have that statistic going into their favour. They were on the front foot for the majority of the game here, especially after that first minute. Endpoint provided a lot of pressure, a lot of good opportunities here. But Endpoint, it's what's next? Once they get up the field, this just feels like there's nothing to develop. There's nothing to move. Whether they make that adjustment, we haven't seen that from them. At least with Guild, right? There was that individual play style. We haven't seen the team connection land yet. What we saw maybe at game one, but again, these tiebreakers, second, we've cast it 4, 5, 6 between Mina and Sam here. It's always a game of maybes.
It always is, yeah, and I think you're dead right with that analysis and that conclusion of the fact that they just aren't making any of these meaningful connections, this Endpoint side, but there is ample opportunity to change the tides as this series duration certainly has more of a length to give, Danny.
Now, thankfully, best of 7, as some casters in the Rocket hits me doing this, but it's effectively a best of 5 now. Both has had opportunities. The least taste the sense of winning in the series here is whether they can get over the line after, of course, that distance mark here as Emery found it from the passing line as Devo just sends it in. Emery, he might have it. Oh, the defensive touch by Guild. It's just making Endpoint's life a touch miserable at the moment.
And speaking of a miserable touch, I'm not sure Crispy wanted that initial contact, but nonetheless, it's certainly good enough to keep them involved in that offensive zone, as Crispy is going to have to work all the way from the back now. He catches that 100 boost, but he's got 2 orange players right in front of him. As Emre, once again, dunked away. You can see some aggression coming forwards from Guild now.
What we wanted. We saw moments of it where it was necessarily not coming through, or at least it felt like it was stagnant at times. The approach, these are moments here. Series has been pretty much lacking in terms of the goals being put in, especially if you saw the previous series. You may have already know the results of it, but Seiko, you have to give credit to both sides here. They're not willing to let a goal go in through cheaply, though.
Not so far, and hopefully that's a trend that continues in these tense situations as Devo tries to optimistically just prod one forwards towards Emre. He's managed to deliver that ball off to the corner, and look at Devo already through the skies to try and be that catalyst to really just spark some offensive creativity of their own. But like you were speaking of, Danny, just no support to give, and it's looking uncomfortable at the back as well.
Comfortable in a tiebreaker with no goals. Psycho, of course it's going to be tight and nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's silly of me to think otherwise, but in these moments, it's the small, tiny moments of play that can make such a massive difference, including maybe this 50-50, if there can be a direct follow-up, but alas, was not meant to be, as Lewis P trying to make a press all on his own, and Crispy on the receiving end of just that. Lewis P down to the crossbar, and it's just over the bar. Unfortunately, Guild have to reset once again.
They might not have that opportunity to properly reset. Third phase of play, mind you, of Guild as Endpoint here. It's found a connection, a defensive touch in Devo. He's got Emery at least to support Crispy behind. It's a very tight rotation Endpoint that will scatter a lot more wide here to allow the defense of Endpoint to hold strong. They've been, and that there. Once again, Devo has done wonders here for Endpoint. Credit to the old guard as Crispy beaten, but he has been taken out of the game by Lewis P just by effectively sending the ball to the corner here. Wasn't much thought other than let's not let them have it approach.
Oh, and that was a close call for Crispy, who almost found a gap on that Guild Esports defense, but fortunately there was some aggression coming forward from that last-ditch effort from Guild, and now Endpoint still chasing an opportunity, something that they can sink their teeth into, as right now it still looks maybe a little bit flat for this Endpoint side, and maybe it could just be a spawn of one piece of individual creativity. That's sometimes all it takes, Danny.
Certainly so. There's a lot of players on this pitch here where the creativity could spark from. Emery for Endpoint. We go respectively so, as you highlighted earlier, as Devo. Just be the solid rock that Endpoint needs, especially in these moments here as Emery. He's on the wall here, settled down. Crispy takes over. Is this the creativity? Maybe just trying to flow through the Endpoint veins. That's hit unfortunately too high up, and Endpoint has got a bail on a good opportunity there.
Fortunately so, but an infield ball towards Crispy may set this flame back alight, but Lewis P on the receiving end is very much looking forward to this counter-attack as Devo tries to make a drive forwards from the corner now. He's managed to get a good 50-50 on Gom, the 100 boost as well. Look at him go all the way to the backboard. Maybe the follow-up shot is a...
Oh, you might be crying, but Endpoint might have tears of their own here. They just saw a net being exposed by Guild. Endpoint may have left theirs temporarily. They've dealt with it. This series here has been going goalless throughout, and an inspirational moment has struck. And usually we see another OT. Endpoint and Guild, they're not showing much emotion other than getting the job done and dusted. Will it be a lengthy OT? Well, Emery would sincerely like to finish it quick for his case, but another defensive play once more. They have to get in Crispy dragged into it there. Wasn't an option, he had to go for it.
He absolutely did. Now Gom in the corner. If there's any player to maybe be a catalyst for this Guild side, that is the player to look for, but he's been beaten to the punch by that first player in blue, and now back in the corner. Devo struts himself forwards, just hops past one. Cannot skip past that second as Gom darts underneath once. Crispy required to make a comfortable touch to a teammate, and Crispy has actually just let that one go, and now they filter the forwards.
Oh, that's excellent by Lewis P. Last man could have let the ball run to the corner, but stops it, lose the ball and naturally delay its flight path to Lou. At least the other two to get back in time here. Devo saw Emery gets bumped in his peripheral vision there, surely here. Another quick little sort of cheeky taps here of bumps. No real demos here, but it's doing enough here to disrupt the play here. It's Endpoint consistently going down this line here, and all three of them on the same side of the pitch. This could be costly. Double commit. Lewis P to follow through. Emery's there. Gone with attempt here, and Guild once again knocks on the Endpoints. Unfortunately, their castle has got the drawbridge pulled up. They hold for now.
And they hold, and the Guild attack, unfortunately for them, crumble towards the bitter conclusion we just saw. Wide of the margin, not just once, not just twice, but maybe three times. And now Emery to strike down, but Gom with a crucial save, and Crispy to filter forwards may keep this Endpoint attack alive, as once again an infield ball towards Emery. That one's on target. That one has struck gold as Endpoint have managed to solidify their lead in the series.
What was needed. Endpoint will be certainly glad to see Emery put that one home. This is the series here, and people in the scene might sort of go, this is strange, Psycho. We're cut from the same cloth somewhat. We love it when it's 0-0. We love it when it's tight. The fact that these players have to play well, they have to play scrappy. It's every element of their game being tested, and Endpoint has got the better of it once again. Another OT. Guild, my words, what do you have to do to get a goal right now? That's unfortunately the thoughts probably creeping across their minds here.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be one specific sort of flashback memory for this Guild Esports side in terms of what they could have done to maybe clinch themselves a win from that game. And that was that sustained attack that we saw from them, as just each shot, one after the other, was just pulled a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, as we saw that Endpoint defense really beginning to panic. They knew the danger was imminent, but they managed to hold out. They managed to keep themselves going and also craft something the other direction as well. So massive props to Endpoint for that.
Certainly so. This is a series here, and I'm glad that there is at least a stream going on, and I have to provide the thanks to all the orgs and the admin team for the permission. Because Psycho, if this wasn't on stream and people say, what's went on, what's happened, did you know it was Helk so close here? People would be in disbelief here. They'll have to go and scutter to the replays and have a look and sort of go, my word, did that really happen? This is the type of series here that you just want to win here. It gives you that sort of feeling of exuberance, but whether they continue that, that's a different matter here. Guilds, they want to put a few wrongs right here.
Definitely so, and Gom immediately off the get-go in this game, showing us a bit of mechanical flair to work his way forward, but unfortunately simply could not best all three of those blue defenders. Now Acro with a chance to do exactly the same thing. He's got a good first touch, a nice dunk on the second as well, and it's looking positive for Guild already.
Certainly so. Attack here would certainly help the cause here for Guild Esports, as Devo just again gets moved across here, and we barely even touched on the fact here that this Devo's ex-org at one point. It might feel strange playing against them. They also feel strange of sending them further down and causing them a world of problems, but he's got to consider himself. He's got to consider the Endpoint banner that he's representing here as Crispy with a potential opportunity.
Ooh.
That's fabulous, and no double, and that could have been the moment that Endpoint sparks into life.
Yeah, misfortune provided by that post, as unfortunately maybe just an inch across to the right, and it would have been enough for that follow-up, but nonetheless we are in a situation. Each team are once again trying to fight for their bid for control, as Dom certainly makes the most out of that one. He gets a shot on target as well, and Acro across on the other side of the field just to open up the options, elevate the attacking presence that this Guild Esports roster has as they try and grab the ball and push it back downfield.
Certainly has went back. The position that Guild has found themselves here. It's allowing Endpoint here to play all the back lines, so the boost consumption is going to be high, and they're going to have to respond if they want to brave a few counters here. As Devo will set himself up.
What?
That's wonderful! Devo, a world champion, but a world-class finish against Guild here.
A glancing strike from Devo, and poor Gom at the back had no choice but just to stare and watch as that ball struck his bottom left. That is absolutely class from Devo.
Gom is probably going to have to sit there, put his knees down and beg for forgiveness for Devo. Whatever he's done or said, that had venom on it. That put Endpoint back within a lead that they would be happily and contented, not only within this game, within the series itself. It's been tight all the way through, but Lewis P sends it, and the world champion might just be feeling the woken a beast at the other end.
They certainly have, and that counter-attack came as quick as a flash from Guild Esports. That ball hit out of defense was hit with pace from Gom, and Lewis P on the receiving end. Well, it was just a simple path towards net, but hit with the pace that it was needed.
Is this game on? Is this where both sides just finally puts their coats off, dust their jackets, and finally have that proper brawl? We've seen what they were capable of. Have they let go of the worry and just be content what they can do with here? Because it's been excellent so far, could get better, and Stevo just launches himself onto that one, and hopefully Endpoint can carry up cleaning from here.
Oh, but hold on a minute, Danny! Lewis P from Guild has managed to slot this one in the bottom left, and I thought that Gom might have done the job himself with that strike down, but the follow-up nonetheless, it needed to be sharp, and it was.
Wasn't quite a strike. A split will do, and it will split Endpoint's hearts more if Guild gets another one. Devo will not allow it. He has taken Humbrich here, another defensive save. He is doing everything possible that is humanly capable, but Gom is on the other side of the pitch here. Crispy takes it away, and could Emery do what he done before? Seems not here, but a help of a friendly hand as Devo sits there with the putter and tries to put one in. Unfortunately, it hit the flag post.
And he did it as this infield ball comes through. Maybe, just maybe, Guild Esports can extend their margin to 3 as Gom in the corner. Actually been beaten by a lovely 50-50 there. Acro on the other end needs to try and feed this ball back in field quickly here, and he needs to get past that first defender. He's not just beaten 1, but beaten 2 as this ball spills to the corner.
Devo, he's lurking, he's ready, he's waiting, he's hunting for another opportunity. Blocked it goes. Guild's doing what Devo's been doing all series long against him. It's a little bit of what you could do, I could do too at the moment.
Definitely is, and Lewis P. There's one thing this player can certainly do, and that's control the play, which he's done in the corner as Acro downfield, just killing the time and killing the chance of maybe an Endpoint retaliation. 10 seconds left on the clock now, and one Devo to hit the ball forwards. The follow-up seeming unlikely. Infield ball, maybe that's the last hope that Endpoint had, in Guild Esports. They needed some sort of a response, Danny, and winning this game in that particular fashion is certainly going to put a smile on their faces.
Oh, I sincerely hope so. And these are the series there you just look at, you just going, do you know what? Devo just showed that bit of class, and you just start going, he's not done. He's far from done. And Guild just has that sort of arrogance. They won't let go. They've got a sort of like a dog with a toy there. It's just happy to play, willing to go, but you take it off it, well, you're just going to agitate it, and they certainly did that with that special moment there that Devo produced here. How this is 2-2, it's due just determination. They do not want to let this opportunity slip through their hands here. They're fighting through tooth and nail, and Seiko, there's very little we can say about that.
There really is, and I think just in terms of describing this series to any sort of casual viewer who might not have been able to watch this stream live here, this is such a difficult series to sort of recall and describe the events of. We're just seeing players and teams come to life when is needed most, and just response after response. We're seeing these teams shift in the way they approach the play, the way the dynamics are changing, are certainly making this a thrilling series. And well, where this goes from here now, Danny, is just anyone's guess, I think.
It's certainly so, and this is the sort of the business end. The last 3 games, this is where destinies could crumble, history could be forged, it could be anything within the stars itself here. Will it be that romantic evening here? Will it be match point? As Endpoint would love to have that opportunity. It will be Crispy. He stood up, took it, and it will be advantage them.
And Crispy's stood up tall, and he stood his ground on that approach forwards. The third man from Guild Esports not expecting the swift strike that just came through.
Well, Devo could be capable. What is going through his mind right now? And Seiko, we've seen what has been. We've seen what has been. And that's an excellent save. Fired right at the keeper. Won't be beaten at his near side post this time.
Not this time around, but there's ample opportunity for a future attack as Gom shows exactly that. A shot towards net blocked away by Crispy as Emre straight back downfield, and Acro now required to make that last-ditch effort. Poke the ball into his own back corner as Gom hits high. He's got a bit of control on the ball as well, but Crispy read this one well, and he's sustaining the attack for Endpoint. And as long as they can keep this ball downfield, they're going to be the team that's smiling.
Lewis P will be happy to block that one. Ball in the field. It's what you can do with a one-touch play here, and it hasn't worked out well. Not perfectly so as Emery looks at the post. Crispy launches, and Lewis P will likely to be the one going for it. Beat Steve-O. He hasn't been beaten much today. He's a man on a mission here. Topped into the middle, and Emery, we're just low if it just slipped on through. Not to be.
Just shy of that back corner. As Acro now feeds the ball downfield. That's an important demo to free up a bit of space as well, but Emre's used that to his fullest of advantages, as there wasn't that early commitment from his opposition to provide that threat. And speaking of threat, Acro in the corner, maybe a touch in field could do a bit of damage, but Endpoint, they are just taking everything in their stride right now.
Acro beaten Crispy. This is the stride that you may be alluding to. It's been doing well here, Devo. He sets himself up. It's been taken away from him. It will be Crispy for take number 2. Will it be? No.
Not to be, as Emre tries to continue the Endpoint domination we've seen so far. This is now half the game that's gone by, and really the blink of an eye. And for Guild Esports, it's almost going to be one of those events that you certainly don't wish could reoccur, as Devo has options to the right-hand side. Crispy chips this one up high. Not the touch he wanted, but he's improvised well to keep this ball in the corner.
Emery moving that one down. Lewis P. Nice soft touch here, and Acro's done well to Bolly Emery. He has options, and unfortunately Fluster's not one of them. It is tied up 1-1. A stuff of nightmares.
And that is just brute force at its finest from Lewis P. Devo and Emre both bested out at their near post, the place of which we daren't mention as a result of what could have happened earlier this game. Was certainly unfolding in a bit of misery there for Endpoint.
Fair thought for the coaches on either side. There'll be a few maybe words being looked through, and that there is Endpoint's ticket. Just to remind, a tap on the shoulder for Guild. We haven't gone away.
Well, certainly an admission pass through to that match point, surely, for Endpoint now. I must say, so far have looked the more strong side, regardless of the shots that have come their direction. It's now 9 the way of Guild, but very few, rather, being of meaningful threat. Maybe now's the time to change that for them.
Emery! That is 3. You asked for change, Seiko. I don't think it might be in this particular direction.
And the angle's absolute filth from Emre as well. Guild Esports, they rose themselves to the occasion as quickly as they could with that defensive line of duty there. Now it's really going to become a difficult affair, as Lewis P maybe can change the tides of this series outcome. And one step at a time, Lewis has taken one massive leap for his side with a gorgeous bit of control there.
Are you sitting comfortably at home, at work, or wherever you may be? There is 6 players probably sitting at the edge of their seats right now. Endpoint may have relaxed somewhat. Not after that goal, but there's another attempt on target. All 3 had went for it. Embry only has one thing in his sights, and that's goal number 4.
And sometimes you can't go over them, and you can't go around them. You just got to poke it under. And Emre has caught all 3 of those orange defenders completely against what they expected. Now Acro afforded an opportunity straight off kickoff. Lewis P to follow forwards, a shot blocked away by Crispy here, and now 1 minute left. That's all the time there is for Guild to make a difference.
Realistically, within the next 30-40 seconds, Guild have to score to give themselves enough time to respond. That's a good demo here. Nice for Endpoint's sake here. Guild will not be enjoying this moment as Acro just sitting there trying to get one out of the play here. Gom waits patiently. Crispy, well, he's used his boost, but he's used it wisely.
Certainly has, and maybe Emre is wise to keep this ball to himself just to make the play that much more difficult for Guild Esports to even get a foothold as these solo plays keep on just ravaging the time off the clock. And now 29 seconds. That is all that's left.
Well, Gom just send it without probably looking, but he just knew he had to get it away from his net. Lewis P, he was waiting for the pass, but too heavy of a first touch. It was highlighted as a potential issue, and it has unfortunately backfired. Another shot here, but Endpoint's got it, and Endpoint fans, at least for a moment, Seiko, they might think they have this series in their column.
And a fifth goal, maybe to add a bit of insult to injury for Guild Esports, who unfortunately, albeit for the majority of the shots in this game, majority of maybe the meaningful attacks downfield, beaten out by such a controlling Endpoint side. And we've spoke about how this series really does have some unpredictability to it. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if this gets stretched the distance towards maybe a Game 7, Danny.
Oh, I think you might just have annoyed a few Endpoint fans with that particular thought. I wouldn't say no to a Game 7. I would love to go back to maybe the olden days, pre-RLCS, best of nines. I want to be greedy, but as Bacon has whimsically said in the green room, I like the old days. I don't think Devo might want to return to the old days. He wants the future. He calls the catalysm to really get going here. Endpoint are 1 foot away. It's up to Guild here to show up what they have left to give.
And I think just reflecting back on that game as well for Guild, I don't think it's one that they need to be too miserable about, because there was certainly those initial first minutes of play looked to be in their favour. They had sort of that presence downfield to put those shots on target, to provide some of that aggression that we were seeing. But unfortunately, Endpoint, the wall was just far too strong, at least from their point of view. And unfortunately for Guild, it's now going to be a matter of a response. And we've said that many a time this series. Can they do it again?
That's the question. Game 6 of the tiebreaker itself, the European region for the closed qualifiers, Spring Open itself. A spot to make life easier to get yourself into the main event. They'll have to, of course, play that tricky bracket itself just to go through here as Guild. They try, but unfortunately they've been denied.
Denied. Such a crucial save on this Endpoint side, and maybe if that first goal would have trickled in, Guild Esports would have just been over the moon, flooded with emotion, and that can often be the difference maker for a side. That can be what sets that momentum alive for a roster. Such a shame they couldn't put that first one away for them.
Momentum's such a key word, and we mentioned Craftman, the Endpoint caster who's sitting here. Probably got no nails left here. Relic, fellow Rocket caster we saw on the weekend, he's probably uses that word momentum. Such a key moment. And this would influence the series if Guild had that moment, Seiko. If that goal went in, Endpoint had to respond. They had to put Guild back in their place where they put them into after that last game win in this series. But they didn't. And they are in the defensive quandary of trying to get away from here.
They certainly are, and in the defensive quandaries now, this side in orange P has done well to bravely let that ball settle down before taking his flight upwards downfield. And now Acro afforded a chance to maybe do exactly the same thing. One flip reset past one as Crispy touches the ball, loops it over to the opposing corner. You can just see that this Guild roster is beginning to relax a little, settle on their attacks forward. They want meaningful opportunities, not just a loose shot on net.
And a pass here to keep the play going. Devo quashes any advancement upfield here. Emery just has a cheeky little chip on target of Guild. Just a reminder, just to let them know they haven't got everything their own way here. It's gone beaten here. Endpoint to send it one down to the line. They have done so. Guild Their position's broken, weakened, but that's a decent block, mighty block in Emery. Oh, he tried to make that one look more difficult than it actually was.
Definitely so, as Lewis P drops the ball down. It's uncomfortable as Acro takes to the skies himself. Emery with only one escape route option left, and unfortunately, straight downfield for the counter-attack wasn't quite there. Nonetheless, these individual battles, so crucial, especially when it comes to micromanaging this sort of play. And Gom, that was an important save. That one, I'm sure, isn't going to go unnoticed for his side.
Look back at these moments and just sort of going, that's the key point. And Acro, will he forge one here with this play here? Lewis P is in the middle, but it's too much to ask for, so Gom will be in the defensive line here, and Crispy tried to be tricky, tried to be clever. Sometimes sticking to the basics is all that you need as Gom chases down Lewis P! Bottom right, and Crispy, simple save, but it's the effectiveness of how it's got away with it.
Simple touch away as Gom strikes this one backboard bound, and Lewis P to follow through, but still no conversion for Guild. And look at this open space the other direction as Acro tries to claw for a last-ditch save, and Emre finally, chance after chance, one end to the other. Emre infield with a superb finish has finally managed to put a goal on the board here, Danny.
Emre, what a play. Endpoint. Their fans rejoiced in that moment here. 70 odd seconds here for Guild to find a response. One goal. It's simple as to get Lewis P. Waits on the side here. He'll be waiting for some time, and he tries to go low, but an accidental or deliberate double. You can decide whether it's that. Doesn't matter. It's a goal nonetheless.
Oh, Endpoint. There really is absolutely nothing you can do about that, and Lewis P has just run away with such a pivotal equalising goal, and now less than a minute left in the play as Gom adds to his save tally and makes it 5 himself, as now he's striding forwards looking for options. Acro now to the backboard. Maybe an infield touch towards Lewis P could have done a lot of good after what that player just displayed, but, well, we're coming to maybe the dying stages of this game. Mistakes cannot be made as Emre with a shot towards net. Crispy to follow through, and unfortunately at such a desperate time, Gom with a slight overextension, and Emre has found the gap in field for his team to come alive.
Daiko said those infinite words, mistakes cannot happen. Not at these moments. Guild, they have allowed the biggest mistake, and that's to let a goal in, especially when you trail in a series, especially in these moments. As Acro, he throws himself onto the ball, 20 odd seconds. It is get yourself downfield, and missile by Crispy. The whole army of Endpoint, a blue tidal wave, came on down and send Guild out.
Surely, this game is done and dusted. Guild Esports, 14 seconds left. As Gom makes maybe his final stride forwards. That particular player has put on such a strong performance across this series, but Guild Esports, they are simply out of time. And Endpoint CEX, from what has been potentially from their perspective an initial travesty in the first series of the day, to come forwards with that level of a response, that level of a change in their trajectory forwards. Endpoint CEX, give yourselves a pat on the back.
What a series there that we've just seen, that you just felt arguably sorry for Guild, what they've just went through, and you just had that moment, you just sort of going, can they do anything more? Well, the problem is they just couldn't get over that line, and Psycho, that's going to hurt for them.
Yeah, it's got to hurt, and especially reflecting on some of those tiny moments in that game, like that gorgeous double touch we saw towards the corner. That certainly can excite a team and elevate them just that little bit more. But oh my goodness, Danny, this series was just so topsy-turvy, really, just back and forth, unpredictable, and it showed these teams in a very positive light, I think, because each of them had their moments in the spotlight where they could consider themselves really to be a top team. They were able to give us that level of a performance, and for Endpoint, they just had that more of the time. That is the only difference maker that allowed them to push themselves through here.
Well, certainly so, but I don't think it would be fair to sit here and try to work out everything that has gone on the stream so far here. I think it's only fair to hear the words of Digital Bacon, because my word, Bacon, that series alone was incredible. But where do you stand with what you just saw here?
I think Endpoint just well and truly pulled off the anime redemption arc after the loss to Quadrant. They came back, put on a thriller for us against Guild. And as you rightfully pointed out, Psycho, that was a great showing from both teams. They had a lot of highlight moments, a lot of fixes coming through from Endpoint. And whilst I know coming into this, no one would really have any worries about either of these two teams making it through in the open qualifiers, the seeding is what's important there. And Guild have given themselves a pat on the back, sure, but Endpoint showing that they've got adaptability, and that's always important when you're going from one series to the next, especially when you're looking forward to like the Swiss bracket system that the closed qualifiers have to offer.
It's going to be incredibly one of those moments where that Swiss bracket will provide more questions as well, Bacon, as you rightly know, is because you can face anybody in those situations. But I don't think anybody wants to hear from me. I think they want to hear Coach's opinion on that one, Bacon.
Yeah.
Well, for Guild, this is one of those moments where there's going to be a lot of heartbreak. And I think for a team, a situation like this can really just dig under your skin. So it's so important for this Guild roster that when they do go through that open qualifier, they approach it with a similar level of confidence to how they were able to bounce back many a time in this series here. And of course, the teams there, it's going to be such a wide variety of talent, such a wide variety of players that maybe they haven't actually had the time to experience before. And we have seen the depth of the European region at large as well. It's going to be a difficult task, one that's understated, really. I think Guild Esports, even though they gave us a strong performance here, it's still not going to be an easy task moving forward to those qualifiers.
And I'm not going to give you two an easy task here. I'll start with you, Danny, on this one. Player of the day for us. Who do we think has really shown themselves and impressed all of us from Quadrant, Guild, and Endpoint?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Can I give you two?
Go on. I'll allow it.
I'll go with Temper for a Quadrant. Fabulous player, fabulous move into it. I think Endpoint was going to have to fight between Emery and Devo. Devo's class was excellent, but if you ask me honestly, I think Emery will have to get the nod more. Young player, good head on him, spicy, talented in the scene. That he's got a career on him in Endpoint. They've got a player on their hands there with him.
You agree, Psycho?
I have to agree 100%. I also was very pleasantly surprised by what Devo gave us today, and I think it's just showing that a player of old can certainly be a player of new and a player of the future to come as well. And Devo, especially with the likes of that wall read we saw when he just slotted it in the corner, just absolutely made a meal of his opposition. That's showing that this player certainly has a lot more to give. So I think between those two, those were the players for me.
All right, pats on the back all around, but we got a couple of thanks as well, of course, to the Silence admin team for helping us get this all together. So big shout out, and of course to the teams as well for putting on this show for us and arranging it back to back. As it stands, though, we'll see Quadrant go on through to that 7th seed and Endpoint going on through to that 8th seed. Quadrant being able to take down Endpoint 4-1, and then Endpoint taking down Guild 4-2. Phenomenal showings all around. Final thoughts from you, though, Psycho?
I mean, honestly, I just cannot wait for this main event to come through, because honestly, I think there's so much potential, like I mentioned, for some of those open qualifier teams to perhaps shed themselves a new light. And of course, with all these new roster changes and dynamics within some of the top teams in this region, if there is any of these regional events to watch, I'm very much looking forward to this Spring Open.
And Danny, final words from you, bud.
Oh, I'm just glad I'm just going to be a viewer, especially with the qualifiers themselves here. I don't think I could have the heart to sit there and watch the teams go through. And unfortunately, there's going to have to be 8 teams eliminated for that main event. And unfortunately, last time I done a team event, Bacon, it wasn't good.
Let's not bring that up, but let's definitely bring up that a lot of team streams will be going on, of course, so make sure to keep your eye out for it. The easiest way is just going on over towards Twitch, making sure to have a look at the whole Rocket League tab and keep an eye out for what's going on. For us, though, that is the end of the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning on in, and, well, everyone behind the scenes for making this possible. I've been Digital Bacon. That's been Danny. Across from him has been Psycho. We had Matt Fish and Spooks on earlier. Deployer behind the scenes. We wish you a very good rest of your evening. Bye.